Setting boundaries is something that a lot of people find difficult. They can be challenging to navigate, but are a crucial component of self-care and overall well-being. A struggle for most, but there's one type of man who doesn't have any issues with setting clear boundaries and enforcing them: the Sigma male. In today's video, we're sharing 7 ways a Sigma male sets his own boundaries and how you can follow his lead for a happier existence. Number 7. He's selfish with his time. One of the Sigma's top priorities is making time in his busy schedule for himself, alone. It could be to work on his personal projects, exercise, read, or do nothing, but the Sigma will always create time for solitude as a form of self-care, and we should all be doing it. But what does this have to do with setting boundaries? Well, time for yourself gives you time to reflect, to think about your life and your values, and consequently, what your boundaries are. Sadly, this simple act of demanding alone time appears selfish. Self-sacrifice and a workaholic attitude seems to be expected by modern society, but has the unfortunate knock-on effect of forcing people to sacrifice their well-being for the sake of those expectations, and even dismiss their boundaries altogether. The Sigma doesn't care what others think of him, as he lives on the outskirts of the social hierarchy and is quite happy to continue doing what is best for him. This is why he is more likely to have deeper relationships and enjoy more fulfilling experiences in life, and why he is so talented at setting boundaries in the first place. As a bonus, taking time for yourself is linked with more confidence, increased creativity, more emotional intelligence, and mental stability. This is the Sigma all over. Number 6. He knows his rights, boundaries, and consequences. It's important in setting boundaries to identify your human rights, psychotherapist and mental health author Judith Belmont says. And she's correct. For example, recognize that you have the right to be treated with respect and make your needs as important, if not more important than others. The Sigma male fully believes in his rights, which makes boundary setting much more straightforward. As one who is known for spending a lot of time looking inward and engaging in self-reflection, you can be assured that the Sigma male has spent a considerable amount of time identifying his human rights before considering his boundaries, whether they be in his personal, professional, or romantic life. What will he tolerate and where does he draw the line? With that information established, he will decide from the get-go what the consequences will be if someone steps over that line, which he knows will happen at some point. If you don't have a clear idea of what you need from someone or where to draw the line, then you'll end up with problems later on when you try to communicate or enforce that boundary. Once you identify your own rights and, above all, believe in them, it'll become easier to honor them, and like the Sigma, you'll automatically stop spending your time and energy appeasing others who demonstrate their lack of respect and cross that proverbial line. Number 5. He listens to his gut. You can plan ahead all you like, taking the time to carefully consider your rights and boundaries, but there will be moments when you get caught off guard, especially when things aren't so black and white. The key is to always trust your instinct. The Sigma, for example, is the type of guy who always follows his gut, and if something feels off, then he respects that feeling and acts accordingly. In terms of boundaries in those grey areas, listening to your gut will help you determine whether someone is violating said boundaries and whether you need to take some time out to revisit your list and set up another one. The Sigma will not only listen to what his instincts tell him, but he'll check in with his body too, and note on any specific, out-of-character reactions like increased heart rate, sweating, tightening of the chest, or clenching of the fists. Number 4. He clearly communicates his needs. Setting them is one thing, but the thing with boundaries is that you need to be able to share them openly with the people in your life too. Communication is the cornerstone of all healthy relationships, and this is something the Sigma does extremely well. He knows that he's not responsible for other people's emotions, and that however someone reacts after the fact isn't his business, especially as he's always communicated in a kind and empathetic and effective way. The Sigma always communicates his boundaries and expectations firmly, calmly, and above all, consistently. However, he recognizes and accepts that there will be those who don't respect his boundaries. But despite this, he'll never falter on his position, and he won't hesitate to disengage altogether if he feels like it's a lost cause. It's common to feel like you have to explain your boundaries to others, but the Sigma doesn't feel this way. He doesn't over-explain, he doesn't make justifications or give explanations. He just says it how it is, pure and simple. Number 3. He is assertive but not aggressive. The Sigma is more of an introvert, but he is just as brave, self-confident, decisive, and assertive as the Alpha. This assertiveness is essential when it comes to setting boundaries, which explains why the Sigma doesn't find it difficult to fully express his limits better than the Alpha, who is more likely to use aggressive tactics. Setting boundaries by being assertive and by being aggressive are two different things. By doing so aggressively, it can come across as punishing and overly harsh. But setting boundaries with assertiveness is about being firm but kind. The Sigma uses assertive language, which is clear and is clearly not negotiable, without making the other person feel blamed or threatened. He uses I statements a lot, which show his confidence and is evidence of good boundary setting, as he can express his opinions, thoughts, and feelings without being concerned what other people think. For example, if someone close to him is making him feel smothered, he may say, "I feel stressed out when I'm not given enough time on my own. It's really important to me that I make time for that." Number 2. He doesn't shy away from the word no, and he doesn't explain. Have you ever met someone who says yes to literally everything? They end up with a ton of responsibilities and favors that they can't keep up with, and this never ends well. It's a powerful yet tiny word, and it can be daunting to say no as a complete sentence. But it is a complete sentence. People who find it difficult to say no usually struggle with setting boundaries, so it's not much of a surprise that the Sigma doesn't find it hard to say no. And without giving any further information. We've all been conditioned to feel guilty for saying no, for being honest and drawing a line. In a way, it's seen as an expression of defiance and disagreeability, but actually, it's an expression of courage, dignity, and self-love. And it's compulsory if you are serious about setting boundaries effectively. For the Sigma, and for all of us, whether we say yes or no, define our reality. He has the power to choose exactly how he's going to spend his time and energy, and so do you. It doesn't have to be done in a rude way, but saying no does not require an explanation. And in the end, being firm and clear with your communication will only benefit everyone involved in the long run. Now, before we get to number 1, just a quick reminder that if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the video, please let us know by dropping a like or sharing it with those who you know could use a little Sigma encouragement in their own lives. And finally, number 1, he follows through. What's the point of setting boundaries if you're not going to follow through on them? It doesn't matter who it is. Consistency is a key component of boundary setting, while remaining compassionate yet firm. If you bend the rules or give in after you've made your expectations clear, then it makes them totally redundant and could make your situation worse. The Sigma is a man of his word and always follows through with what he communicates. He will also follow through with the consequences that happen as a result of his boundaries being disrespected. His habit of remaining true to his word is why he is considered a good leader, and why people feel safe in his care. And this helps him to manage his relationships with ease. Once the Sigma has asserted himself, then he doesn't actually owe anyone anything beyond that. When someone isn't respecting his boundaries and he explains how and why he's not okay with it, then if nothing changes, he will cut contact, or at least give them the cold shoulder until they come to their senses. He has an insane amount of self-worth, and he never forgets it. Some of us need to remind ourselves of our self-worth. And remember that no one has the right to take that away or make us feel uncomfortable. It's okay to set clear boundaries. Ultimately, it's not easy to set and enforce boundaries, and it's a skill that has to be practiced over time. But if you try to emulate the Sigma by working on yourself and trusting your instincts, remaining open, kind, and compassionate while practicing setting boundaries and learning to say no, then you'll start to see yourself and your relationships becoming stronger, healthier, and happier. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.